everybody, and welcome into the First and Football podcast. Today is Sunday, November 26, 2023. You have me, one of your two hosts, Justin Sutton, here in Green Bay, here with Mike Rosenthal in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I just have to say, to start this out, I am so angry at Devonta Smith. Mike, how are you feeling today?
I love that you hate Devontae Smith.
I I can't wait till he's off the Eagles. I'm so sick of it.
He's not going anywhere.
Yes he is. They ain't paying him.
But he wants to win a Super Bowl, so if he wants to win a Super Bowl, he may stay there.
Oh, hopefully he gets his wish this year so he gets the fuck out of town. But I digress. We'll talk about that later. Hint.
Yeah, we had some heated arguments about a little bit of Devontae Smith,
Yeah.
Higgins comparison and stuff like that. So that was fun to talk. Let's just dive right into an historic event that happened today.
Yeah, this Sunday slate of action.
Absolutely historic. The Pittsburgh Steelers got over 400 yards game one after firing Matt freaking Canada.
Hold on.
It was Matt Canada.
Say it again, a little louder for the people in the back.
400 yards.
Oh, praise Jesus. Hallelujah.
They threw the ball to the middle of the field. Who would have thought that would do something? Pat Freiermuth with 100+ yards. Kenny Pickett, 24 for 33, 278. Kenny Pickett would have been over 300 yards and a touchdown if Mike Tomlin would have challenged that touchdown that Deontay Johnson caught with 3 feet in bounds. They had a great game. Kenny Pickett was throwing some dots today, man. He pretty much told those haters to shut the fuck up. He showed up, dude, you can't deny that game that he had, man. He looked phenomenal. Najee Harris running like a dog. You know the only offensive player that kind of looked questionable? I mean, maybe not even questionable. Jaylen Warren was not like the crazy dominant force that he was. He was still great, but Najee Harris showed up. Pat Freiermuth showed up. Deontay Johnson ran backwards and dropped the ball. This is the Steelers offense that we know. Like
Dude, that was so abysmal, Deontay Johnson. I mean, I don't know, to some degree, like Jaylen Warren not being dominant on a consistent basis, I feel like that's to be expected. He's an undrafted free agent for a reason, man. Like,
it's
you just kind of got to live with that. Yeah,
he's been playing way above what you'd think he would play. Like,
right, and like Najee suddenly coming back into like existence after being in purgatory. Like, it's just like that's what first round picks do. They kind of flash their talent. Like, yo, this is why I'm a first round pick. So,
he's
like,
a dog.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the whole offense, though, y'all looked completely different. I mean, you looked way more fluid. I mean, it might not have been like night and day, but it looked different to me. Anybody who watches football enough and has been watching the Steelers enough the last this last season here, they can see it's different. That was significantly improved, and I mean, all Pittsburgh fans have to have hope after that.
We got hope, man. Although the Bengals defense wasn't great, we had a lot of fluidity in that game, and it's just like the Steelers. You get a whole bunch of yards, but don't score a lot of points. You don't get a whole bunch of yards and you score points. It's completely polar opposite, but hopefully next week they can pull it together playing the Cardinals, they're playing like two teams that are like they have 2 wins the next 2 weeks. They need to pull together a couple more wins here. Like, they have a nice schedule ahead of them.
Yeah.
Man, I'm amped. They threw the ball to the middle of the field, which is great to see. And just pulling that together now, maybe let's get a little bit of George Pickens, Deontay Johnson in there. Let's not run backwards. But shout out to George Pickens on the onside, or on the when they were trying to do the onside kick, when he caught that ball and kept running, that actually ran the clock out, which enabled the Steelers to kneel the ball out. I don't know if he intentionally did that.
I think
that was pretty cool.
I think Tomlin or the special teams coach or whoever, I think someone told them to make sure you stay up for 4 seconds. That's why he got scrummed. The whole team just pretty much guarded him and was like keeping him upright.
That was so awesome watching all those other players run in front of him. Like, phenomenally executed. They should have won by more points, but hey, they don't ask how, they ask how many. Ooh. And that's another win. I probably said that a bunch of times in this podcast with the Steelers, but I have one to end the Steelers talk. Bengals are dead this year, obviously.
RIP.
Jamar Chase had a couple of lucky catches off of tip balls from the Steelers.
To be real, those deflections were pretty athletic plays by the DBs. Like, Jamar had a pretty clean target. Like, if they don't make an otherworldly play, like, Jamar's catching that ball regardless. He might not have the same yak, but
And those DBs are backups. Minka Fitzpatrick's not in. Like those are backup players.
Yeah, those are some ballers.
So I got one stat that I saw that I'd like to end it with because me and you were talking about Joey Porter Jr. So against some of the elite receivers this year, he played against Puka Nacua. Joey Porter led up one reception for 22 yards, no touchdowns. He played Devontae Adams, one reception, 12 yards, no touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, two receptions, 20 yards, no touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins, one reception, 17 yards, no touchdowns. Jamar Chase, two receptions, 36 yards, no touchdowns.
Okay.
He's a rookie. He's a dog. He's a dog.
Okay. Yeah, dude. Joey Porter Jr. He's that dude he's something special, man. I mean, I'm a firm believer in like if you got blood in the NFL, like the Watts, the Bosas, the Carlsons, like it's probably gonna work. You know what I mean? If there's already a sibling or like a very close bloodline relation, keep it simple, stupid. Don't overthink the room. It's probably going to be an NFL player. You know what I mean? Like Joey Porter Jr., his kid, probably going to be an NFL player. Marvin Harrison
and going
Jr.
to Pittsburgh going to Pittsburgh too. That like amplifies.
Yeah. Imagine the kid's confidence, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's got to feel like he's walking in the footsteps of destiny. Like it's like, Marvin Harrison, look at his kid at Ohio State, stud. You know what I mean? Like it just works. It's like, I'm like not surprised, but in the same token, it's like it's good to have the verification and it's good to boast. Like, yeah, that dude's a stud.
Yeah, he's also like just got such a long reach. He's such a big guy, and to watch him keep up with these studs in his first year, you don't see cornerbacks, rookies dominating elite receivers like this, man. He's shutting them down. So
I mean, the last time I seen a guy start doing stuff like that was like Pat Surtain, Jalen Ramsey. I think rookie Jair had some pretty good moments like that too.
Yeah, he did.
So
yeah, it's great to see, man. I'm super amped. Let's keep the ball rolling the next couple of weeks against these bad teams, and let's prove that we belong to lose in the first round.
Right. And just a side note, we both did take that line of Pittsburgh minus 2.5, and we were both correct on that. So hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Moving on. Let's move on to the next game here, Mike. Let's get into some Saints at the Falcons action here. It was New Orleans favored by 2, and we both took that line, and we were both sadly mistaken.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, the Saints coming off a bye, I was like, this is a smash lock. I mean, I didn't really care if it was Derek Carr or Jameis Winston. I figured Derek Carr, off of a bye would be prepared enough and, not look like basically a deer in headlights the whole game, like not knowing what to do or what he wants to do. Like he just really looked like the walking definition of paralysis by analysis out there. Like he was just out there reading the field and like couldn't pick who he wanted to throw it to.
Yeah, I did see that on a few plays watching Red Zone, man. Derek Carr, once again, another 300-plus yard game where he loses. Where you throw that many yards and you lose the game. It's like, oh, man, what are you doing? But, hey, I'm going to give some credit here to the Falcons. Bijan, 2 touchdowns. I think, 130-something yards in scrimmage.
He went off. That catch for the touchdown was nice.
Yeah, that nice little dump right in kind of the middle of the field. Dude.
Most certainly.
Who would have thought using Bijan? Man, the Falcons, where does that put them in the division?
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good question here. Let me
top?
Check.
But man, that was Alvin Kamara once again. He had a pretty decent day, 69 rushing yards, but the 50 passing yards. Him in the passing game, Alvin Kamara, is getting you fantasy related, is getting you a ton of points in a very consistent basis. I picked up in my work league. Somebody dropped Alvin Kamara week 3 because they were like, I need somebody else. And I was like,
oh my goodness,
I will have him sit on my bench with that suspension. I do not care. And ever since then, that dude's been a starter every week. Consistent player.
Falcons and Saints are actually now tied in the NFC South at 5 and 6 apiece.
And the Falcons have it.
First place, and the Falcons are technically in first. Buccaneers are only 1 game under, dude, in third. Technically, I mean second, third, however you want to look at it. They're 4 and 7, and the Saints are 5 and 6, and they look like they're struggling. I think the Falcons are frauds. They're playing a quarterback carousel. I think the Buccaneers, dude. I think the Buccaneers royally screwed the pooch today, and Atlanta's going to have some trouble on their hands. They're going to come storming back for a divisional battle here.
Yeah, if you've watched or listened to any of our podcasts, me and Justin are both big believers that Baker is not the Baker and the Buccaneers are better than what they're doing right now.
Correct.
And
I think
man, did they
Todd
screw
Bowles
the
is an
pooch
issue.
today.
Yeah, Todd
Oh
Bowles is a
my
great
gosh.
DC. He's proven he's a terrible head coach. Like,
Should
man.
we just no, we'll hit that
No, and
game in two more
we
games.
need to get
Yeah.
back to the Saints talk here. I mean, outside Chris Olave was looking like he was having a great game. Only really
Yeah,
played
he
about half
was.
a game until he got injured. I mean, Kamara had a solid game too. It's like the Saints were moving the ball pretty good. They just could not seem to find the end zone. Like it was just field goal after field goal after field goal. I mean, all their points today were field goals.
Yeah, Drake London with like 90 something yards too. I
Yeah.
mean, as a rookie, you love to see him producing, especially with the guy that's throwing him the ball.
Yeah. I could not believe that Saints defense got pretty much routed. Like, I mean, they got like thoroughly taken advantage of in multiple areas by Desmond Ritter and that offense that's not very good. I can't believe that.
Didn't you
Like
have the Saints kicker? Weren't
I,
you
I,
pretty amped
I
about
was
that?
pretty amped about that. Yeah, but I thought the Saints would handle this. You know, they are so talented on both sides of the ball.
So many
They lost
weapons.
Rashid Shaheed today. It's like that's a tough loss too. But it's like I just don't understand like why they look so dysfunctional. If you're gonna be this dysfunctional, dude, at least Jameis has shown he can put points on the board, and he just puts the ball into this playmaker's hands and tries to let them work
Yeah.
with it. Like just is it time to bench Derek Carr? Like I'm serious. It's like
They've been dysfunctional since a franchise Pro Bowl or not Pro Bowl Hall of Fame quarterback left.
I get it, but I mean, dude, Derek Carr has just
You
looked
think he'd be better, man?
broken. I don't know if it's coaching or Derek Carr because
Derek Carr.
he
It's
just
the
seems to
Derek
get
Carr
worse
effect.
with age, man. Like, yeah, he was. I don't know. Like, I thought he looked pretty solid like the last year under John Gruden before Gruden, was eventually fired.
Yeah,
Pardon me. And
you're good.
I think I personally think that Derek Carr, ever since he lost John Gruden, like he's just been broken ever since, dude. He's had so many coaching changes, so many like offensive coordinator changes. I mean, just everything. I don't think he's had any sort of real constant stability until he had John Gruden because he had Gruden for like 3 years, right? It was at
At
least two
least a couple of
seasons.
years. Yeah, at least
Yeah.
two.
I mean, I think the only other guy he had for 2 years like that, I don't even know if it was a full 2 years, was Jack Del Rio. It's like everybody else has been like a 1 year and done, or like, interim coach, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, dude, John Gruden was like one of the biggest continuities for him. And I think he's a guy that just needs consistency. And Dennis Allen has proven he's not the guy in New Orleans. And now you're
Yeah.
going to get him another new person. So next year's probably already a wash too. Like they're going to look like this again.
I mean, in my, I guess, very wrapped up analysis of Derek Carr, he's not going to win a Super Bowl. He's not a Super Bowl quarterback. And he's way too inconsistent. He can throw out those big games and he can make it feel like he's a franchise quarterback, but he's how
That's
are
the
they
thing.
5-6, man?
Yeah, it's
I
like
just
we've seen him play so good, and it's like not
yeah.
even like all that like long ago, and it's
Yeah,
like
Devontae Adams last year, Josh Jacobs with a historic year, and look what happened.
yeah,
He got traded.
coaching last year clearly is what screwed the pooch last year for the
Yeah,
Raiders. It wasn't Derek Carr. He might have like cost them a game or two, but coaching cost them multiple games. I mean, like I just don't
yeah,
understand what happened. It's almost like the Russell Wilson effect. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think it's time to move on from this game.
Yeah, this game's starting to
Yeah.
give me high blood pressure. Let's move on.
All right, next we got Panthers at Titans. We both picked Tennessee -3.5. We did not take that line. The Titans actually won by 7 points. Panthers kind of kept that close. I think Derrick Henry got 14 out of those 17 points.
He did, yeah.
He didn't look like elite, but I don't think he needed to. 18 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, how good? They don't really have to try that hard against a 1-10 Carolina team who's not very good.
Yeah, this is the definition of the who gives a shit bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was not very interested in this game.
I didn't really watch much.
Highlights on Red Zone, yeah. And it's like, I don't know. The Panthers are, I mean, with Frank Reich back playing, calling plays, like they do look a bit better. Bryce Young, like very slowly, but he is showing some development. I don't think he's a bust quite yet. I don't know what he is though. Who knows? That remains to be seen. But if they can get some receivers down there, man, I would love to see what Carolina's offense could look like next year.
Yeah, Young can throw a dot.
Yeah, he's extremely slippery too for his size. It's just can he see the field and nobody's getting open.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you're a number one pick and you go to a bad team because that's what bad teams get, number one picks.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, next game.
Yeah, moving on.
Now back to what we were talking about, Buccaneers Colts, where
oh yeah, this game
Indy
was
minus
wild.
2.5, and me and you both thought that the Bucs were going to win this game, man. Man, what are they? They got Mike Evans, who is a stud. They got White, who is a stud running back. They got Chris Godwin. They got Baker Mayfield, who has got that dog in him. And they just could never put the game together. Like, it blows my mind how they're at the record that they're at 4-7.
I honestly
maybe I think too high, but
maybe I'm in the same boat. But I honestly think it's the curse of Todd Bowles. I mean, remember when he was the coach of the Jets and they were like, they would be in so many games for so long. Then all of a sudden, like at the end, they just like unravel, fall apart, blow the game.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, they're like that, dude.
That's exactly what Tampa's like right now.
If Indy scored like 42 points, Tampa Bay would have 35.
Like, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm like, I like Todd Bowles, a great DC. He is not a good HC. And I don't know what they got to do, but Baker has definitely shown to me he's a franchise guy. He's going to get a long-term contract there. And in my opinion, he's earned it.
Browns fucked up.
The Browns fucked up for real. Like, for real. Before anybody else starts talking about it, you heard it here first. They never should have got off Baker.
They traded the one dude that won them a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That dude, he was like, figuratively speaking, to a degree, he was kind of like their football LeBron James. Like, they had the number one pick. Everybody knew he was going to be the number one pick coming out of college, this, that, and the other thing. And like, they took him and he was supposed to save the franchise, and he did. And they finally got him with a good coach, with Stefanski, and got him the playoffs. And it's like, yeah, now they're sitting here, in squabble while Baker's out here playing his dick off for a team that just can't seem to close a game. It's like they have so much talent on defense to go with that offensive talent.
Imagine how nice it'd be if the Browns had Baker. Now the Browns again today were on their now third string quarterback because of a concussion. Like, Baker's, he was even injured a little bit in this game. Me and you were messaging back and forth, and I was just like, "Hold on, faith, dude. He's tough. He's a tough SOB." And you're like, "Ah!" I'm like, "Dude, just wait." And then you're like, "Okay, he's coming back."
Yeah, I got him in fantasy, and I desperately need him in my my keeper league to get through this playoff push.
But then you got a Watson who is cleared from medically to play. Obviously not anymore, but earlier in the season, cleared to play, doesn't play. Like, there's a difference. There's a total difference between people like him and people like Baker Mayfield
and Matthew Stafford. Yeah, I totally
Matthew
agree.
Stafford. Yeah, he's like, my back's broken. Put me in.
And I would even venture to throw, he's probably not looked at like necessarily in this light, but I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't get enough credit for being a tough SOB.
Oh, he's tough.
You know what I mean? Remember that playoff run, dude?
He doesn't bitch
on one leg. You know what I mean? Like, the only time he comes out the game is if it's serious.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is, one of the toughest of all time. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, Big Ben.
But Aaron Rodgers is from that same. He's cut from the same thread.
Yes, he's cut
same generation.
Exactly.
Like, cloth, I don't know why I said thread.
It's all good. it's all good. The only difference between him and Ben is he doesn't have rape accusations, but let's digress.
That's You're right, there are accusations that were denied. You know the other difference?
I said accusations.
Two Super Bowl rings. Terms. Would you take those accusations for 2 rings for Rodgers?
Yeah, he's already got other accusations, but I would trade those accusations for these accusations if it came with a second ring.
You take those 2 rings, buddy.
That sounds terrible, but that's 2 rings and 3. I want another ring for Aaron Rodgers.
Big Ben didn't do nothing. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know if he did or not. It's just a joke.
Not cool, dude.
Not cool, dude.
All of that got debunked. That's so bogus of you. I was about to shout out White for having 15 carries and 100 yards, but we're not even going to talk about that and move on to the next game because I hope he sucks the rest of the year.
Oh, he's only saying that because Patriots, I have him on my fantasy team, and Rachaad White did have a good game today. He didn't ball out, but he certainly didn't disappoint. He had a good game on the ground there with 100 yards.
You bringing out accusations when I'm complimenting also my two favorite quarterbacks of all time, Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger, and then you're about to throw that out there.
Yeah,
That's just that,
that's called bait right there, Mike. I baited you into that. Just had to get you a little fired up.
yeah.
Let's
You're
move
just
on to
like
the
the rest of
next.
scumbag media.
Yeah, let's move on to the next game here.
Patriots and Giants. Patriots deciding to go with two quarterbacks this game. New England was favored
Again.
-3.5, and neither you or I took that bait.
Correct.
Yeah.
Nice segue there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Bill Belichick's ready to get the heck out of New England.
Yeah.
And DeVito is an elite NFL quarterback who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this game.
Or I mean, all seriousness here, like Danny DeVito definitely looks like they should not have paid Daniel Jones because he looks like he can at least be mediocre enough to win them games. I mean, think about how scary it would have been if Daniel Jones is out there today.
I mean, to be fair, dude, Tommy DeVito, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year. Is that better than Kenny Pickett? Like that? I mean, obviously, I think Kenny's.
I need a little more sample size before I can definitively.
Obviously, you need more sample size, but I mean, hey,
I'd say that's an overreaction right now.
It's overreaction Sunday night.
That's an extremely hot take.
Yeah, I do not think so. Obviously, I think Kenny Pickett had a great game, but yeah, this game sucked, and both these teams suck, and the Patriots are going to get a high draft pick, and Bill Belichick's going to find his way to the Chargers. I mean, Barkley didn't even have a good game.
Do you really think he's going to go to the Chargers?
I thought that's where he was rumored to go. Bill Belichick was going to go mentor Herbert.
I mean, yeah,
that's what we talked about on Friday night.
It is the rumor, but do you really think that's going to happen?
I don't know. He's going to go somewhere, and it ain't going to be New England anymore. I have no concept right now or thought of as to where he could go, but as far as our predictions that we talked about on Friday, we both, I think, said that Barkley and Stevenson were going to have good games, and Barkley did not, but Stevenson did have a good game. And yeah, that's this. Both these teams stink. Next game, we got a great freaking game. Jaguars at Texans.
Yes, this game was phenomenal.
Jags -2. Neither of us took the line because I think both of us thought the Texans were going to pull this off in some fashion, or it was going to be close. And Jags won 24-21. Great game, man. Great game. What do you got from this, man?
Honestly, dude, CJ Stroud is legit. I mean, he showed me yet just another level of elite quarterback play that he is capable of, dude. That elite mobility, like I knew he was pretty mobile. I didn't know he was that mobile. He was out there looking like Houdini, man, spinning and twirling and like, you know, just making space out of nothing and off angle platform throws. It's like, dude, just craziness. Not to mention he had guys dropping passes that, let's be real here, if he didn't have a couple drops, Texans probably win that game.
Or a couple penalties.
Yeah, I did not think that the Jags really took them seriously at first, and then all of a sudden woke up in the second half like, damn, Houston for real, because they smoked them last time. But I honestly feel like Houston is like they are primed to still push for the playoffs here. I think the Jags are still good. I can't say what's wrong, but something is not right about the Jags. They just don't look like the definition of elite to me. They look like a very good team. They just don't like. They might win one playoff game, and to me, that's a maybe. And I don't think they'd get further than that. Yeah,
this is CJ Stroud's 6th 300+ yard game, dude, and he's had one 400+ yard game. This dude is
insane.
It is like, I mean, I think we've all had the same thought, at least you and I from our generation. Once again, talking about Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, like these franchise elite quarterbacks coming into the league and seeing them just be studs. It felt like we kind of lost that the past few years.
Yes.
And looking at a CJ Stroud, even a Trevor Lawrence now kind of stepping it up. Like watching some of these dudes come in and fulfill those roles is awesome to see. And especially watching CJ Stroud do this with no names that probably anybody had drafted in fantasy football or thought
Yes.
of.
With the
Like,
exception of maybe Tank Dell if you took a flyer.
and then you got Singletary coming in too for the, I mean, he didn't have a great game this game, but like their backup running back coming
Oh
in. Like
yeah.
the Texans, I'm kind of like, obviously being a Steelers fan, I want the Steelers to make the playoffs, and the Texans losing helps that case. But I'd rather see the Texans in the playoffs than the Steelers, man. Like it's just gonna be way more fun to watch. The Steelers aren't
Yeah.
there right now. The Texans are gonna put up a fight against anybody. It's just like kind of what we talked about with the Buccaneers game. Like if a team's gonna score 40 something, they're gonna score 35.
Agreed.
If the Texans are going to lose to a team, they're going to be close. Even if they're scoring 40, 30 points, they're going
Yes.
to be right up in there competing. I think that
Because
the Texans could use a little bit more defense, but their offense right now is unbelievable. If they just had an elite defense, I mean, it's just great for the Texans because they're going to be competitive now for the next whoever knows how long, 5+ years.
yes, I completely agree. Like, especially with everything you said about like, they are going to be in it to the end. It doesn't matter what the score is, and that is because CJ Stroud is elite. I am ready to say, dude, he is a top 10 quarterback right now.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's so awesome to watch. I mean, I don't get. I mean, they should have won the game. I don't,
Should have.
But the Jaguars are a good football team, man. They're a good football team. And
Yeah.
then ETN didn't even have a great game. I mean, you put ETN, he only had 20 carries for 56 yards. That's not a good game for him, but I think he's kind of on a little schneid right here of not having great games. But I
Yeah.
mean, all he's got to do is heat up at the right time because the Jaguars being 8-3, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going
Hey
to be in the
man,
mix.
that's all any football is about is getting hot at the right time.
Yeah,
Getting hot at the right time in real life football for a playoff push, fantasy football, whatever it
yeah,
is, man. Any given Sunday, it's real.
yeah. I mean, one of my work fantasy leagues right now, I'm averaging like probably 150 points a game this
Whew,
season.
that's
It's
crazy.
insane. But everybody, I'm just like, it's nice, but I don't really care what happens right now. I only care what happens. I'm now the only thing that does for me is allows me to trade people and dump people and prepare for games and looking at players of who they're going to play in the playoff weeks,
Oh, if you haven't already been doing that, my guy, you're a little
No, I
behind the
definitely, oh,
curve.
I mean, definitely
Okay.
have been.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
yeah,
say you should have been
yeah,
doing that the last couple weeks.
yeah. I'm thinking playoffs now because I've been clinched for 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks now. But
Nice.
all
But yeah,
right,
let's
next
let's move
game
on to
we
the next game
have
here.
Browns at Broncos, Denver -1.5. We both took that, and the Broncos did what I thought the Broncos would do. The Browns got lucky last week, not so lucky this week because once again, like we said in this last podcast, the Broncos offense is going to score points and the
Yes.
Browns don't have the ability to do so.
Yep.
Um, Even the Browns defense, like I definitely wouldn't have expected the Broncos to get this many points,
Yeah, I
but
thought it would be a lot tighter than that.
they did keep, I mean, Russell Wilson only had 134 yards for Russell Wilson and then 65 yards on the ground for Williams. Like nobody, I guess, really did that great. But I mean, even actually kind of a funny stat here. Both what is it, DRT or DTR?
Yep, DTR.
DTR and Wilson had 134 yards and 1 touchdown. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess the Broncos really stepped it up and were the only factor here in the fourth quarter. And I think DTR got concussed, so they had
PJ
PJ
Walker out there
Walker
again.
come in.
I mean, dude, Cortland Sutton was unreal in this game. That dude's gonna get a contract extension. He's like so solid. He's a low grade 1, but he can honestly operate as a 1, in my opinion. Judy looks to be revived. Russell Wilson is certainly revived. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
the Broncos look feisty, man, and we all know that Sean Payton is a good eye for talent. So I think next year Broncos going to be real spicy.
I think so too, man. And I think even this year they have a chance. They're 6-5. They can be in the race.
Yeah, but
Like,
this is like a building culture step year for them. They are not gonna, like, even if they do somehow manage to make the playoffs, they certainly are not gonna go like win a game in
I
Arrowhead, in
mean,
my opinion.
building culture, aka 5 wins in a row right now against the Chiefs, the Bills, the Vikings, and the Browns. All teams that probably we all would have bet that they would have lost against at the beginning of the season.
Let's be real. If the Browns have Deshaun Watson, does this game look the same? I don't think so.
It does. Deshaun Watson, I don't think he's that big of a factor for the Browns. He hasn't shown that he has been. You can't. There's no. His best game was the second half of the game that he got injured before his season ended.
Exactly.
That's all he's done. But that's all he's done. That's all he's done in 11 games playing for the Browns.
What have you done for me lately, league? And that is what he has done lately. So
he's done nothing lately. He's injured and out for the season. That
was the most recent memory.
His most recent memory is him being out for the season.
Yep. After annihilating the Ravens in a comeback win for
they did not annihilate them. They won with the last second field goal.
They dissected them in the second half to go complete the comeback. How about that?
Deshaun Watson believer, get out of here.
I'm not saying he's ever going to be what he once was, but I don't think he's a trash can.
I mean, he's an injury bag.
He's very injury prone. Yes, so that
your best ability is your availability. If you ain't available, you ain't shit.
You ain't good. Yep.
I'm not gonna argue the fact that I think Deshaun Watson has the potential to be great because man, was he amazing. But you miss this much football. You're only getting older. You're not connected with the team anymore, man. It's so many negatives.
Yeah, I totally
agree. And this was a huge year. This was a huge year for the Browns to be great. And their defense is like, all right, we're here. And then they got screwed by injury with their running back. I mean, Nick Chubb's not going to be. He's not, even though he's going to come back next year, he ain't going to be the same dude.
Probably
no way.
Unfortunately,
no, he's not going to be the Nick Chubb that he has been in the past.
If it was the other knee, maybe, but it was the same knee he destroyed in college, so probably not.
But speaking of the Broncos, to end this little spiel, actually, one thing the Browns have, I think, the easiest schedule in the AFC North coming up here. So even this loss, they still have a good chance to maybe make something happen with their defense because just like the Steelers and a few other teams in the NFL, their defense, or I mean, this kind of maybe just the Steelers and the Browns, their defenses can win them games. Just those guys. But the Broncos, they play the Texans and then the Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders.
Russell Wilson run here.
They have a chance to sneak into a playoff spot here.
Yep.
So if Russell Wilson keeps cooking, man.
Speaking of playoff spots and all that, one game that is going to have implications on playoff spots is this current Sunday night football game that we are recording through.
What's going on with that one?
We are talking about the Baltimore Ravens at the Los Angeles Chargers. And currently, the Baltimore Ravens are leading the Los Angeles Chargers by a score of 7-3. And there's 10:41 to go in the second quarter. The Ravens are just kicking off to the Chargers after Zay Flowers just scored a touchdown.
Man, you gotta love Zay Flowers, dude.
I love Zay Flowers. I think he's kind of the second coming of Antonio Brown, honestly. But that is cool. I don't know if he'll ever reach that kind of like peak potential, but they just dude, just watch him, man. Just watch him and think about Antonio Brown and tell me you don't see like the spitting image. It's pretty.
I don't think he's as built and tough as Antonio Brown, but I see the shiftiness for sure.
I think he can become a little more built like that. And honestly, the mental part of the game that AB did have down, like he was a very cerebral route runner. I can say that at the time for whatever cerebral.
And Zay Flowers is definitely that right now.
Yeah, like Zay. I think Zay can even improve upon that. But I digress.
What is hold up? No. I want to.
Let's go ahead and take a little break here because we're running out of time.
Hold on, I got one more note.
Okay,
I got one more note. We got a couple minutes here. I just wanted to look at the Zay Flowers. So Zay Flowers is 5'10", 172. Antonio Brown was 5'10", 185. So yeah,
he can put on just a little more muscle. I mean, I really think it's the second coming, dude, because they look eerily similar.
Yeah, dude. I don't hate that comparison. I think that yeah, man.
Now when you watch the second half later when we're done recording this podcast, every time you watch Zay Flowers, you're just going to think about Antonio Brown. Then you're going to get mad at the fact that he's a Baltimore Raven.
Nah, not going to get mad. He doesn't have an elite quarterback throwing him the ball.
Oh, spicy.
Just kidding. Lamar's elite, but I mean, he is not a
would you take Lamar over Kenny Pickett right now?
He ain't got a ring right. I would take all the years of Ben Roethlisberger
Hold
You
on.
can't compare.
That's not the question I asked. Yes or no? Would you take
No.
Lamar over Kenny
Obviously,
Pickett right now?
Obviously, I'd take Lamar.
Okay.
But that's not really a fair comparison. I mean, I think a better comparison would be like, would you
Current
take all the years of
quarterbacks?
Lamar right now and then potential future over what you saw with Ben over the because Lamar is an elite quarterback and won an MVP.
That's done though. Like I'm not
No,
talking
but
about that. I'm talking about going forward.
Would I take back everything I had with Ben to get Lamar? Your comparison to Kenny Pickett is just as dumb as maybe what you think mine is.
Ben has been gone now for almost 2 whole years. Let it go.
Your comparison,
Quit living in the past. I'm talking about their current quarterbacks. I'm saying going
that's a dumb
forward,
comparison.
would you rather
Lamar's
have
been around forever.
Going forward, would you rather have Lamar or Kenny Pickett? I'm not talking about their current stats or I'm not talking about their former accomplishments or their former stats. I'm just talking about right now.
I don't know. I mean, the most obvious answer is probably Lamar.
Yes,
but I know but the thing is, I don't know what Kenny Pickett's ceiling is. I know what Lamar's ceiling is, and Lamar's never going to hit his ceiling that he once had.
Okay, do you think Kenny Pickett's ceiling is anywhere near that of Lamar's? Because I don't think it's anywhere close.
Well, I don't think Ben Roethlisberger never won an MVP.
That is bewildering, but I mean,
you could say Ben never had a ceiling like Lamar did. The Steelers don't have quarterbacks that are that level. They don't need that. That's not how the franchise is built. So I don't know if I would want that as a Steelers fan.
I mean, hold on. You had Terry Bradshaw for how many years? You had Ben for how many years? But how many years did you not have an elite quarterback? And then I'd be curious to see what your stats are.
We had elite quarterbacks then, but they weren't like MVP quarterbacks. They weren't.
I mean, to be fair, you just complained that Ben never won an MVP, even though we can both acknowledge
about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. You brought it up that even though we could acknowledge that Ben probably got robbed of an MVP in his career.
Maybe his second year, first or second year.
He's talented enough to be an MVP. Could we argue that?
I don't know.
Really? That's interesting.
I think what he is and what I hope.
Let's table that and bring it back after the break. How about that? All right. Now I got you all worked up. Remember where we're at now.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back after the short break. All right, welcome back, everybody. So we went to break, and Mike, you left us with the cliffhanger of you don't know, as a Steelers fan, if Ben Roethlisberger ever was talented enough to win an MVP. Please explain.
So I think that Ben Roethlisberger is talented enough. He won 2 Super Bowls. Even actually one of the Super Bowls he didn't even play that great in. But he was I don't think he was ever. I mean, his best season I think was 34 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, or he had 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 2020. Like,
I do remember that.
He's the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl.
Did he have 5,000 yards that year too, or was that the year before?
That was in 18. 5,129 yards.
Yeah, I remember he had a 5,000 yard season pretty late there.
I mean, he had a bunch of 400-yard games.
So he went off in 2018. That was like class of prime Ben.
Even in 2021, he was 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, went 9-7.
It's a good ratio. It's
for an old dog.
Stats. Yeah,
but for an old dog, with Matt Canada as offensive coordinator,
it ain't bad.
No, I don't think. I think that there were other people in the league better than him, but the Steelers never needed.
He was kind of like overshadowed.
They don't need. I think that the Steelers, just like the culture that they're built on between Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin, it's not anybody that's been a Steelers fan for the past 20 plus years. It's not built on having that Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, that they're not throwing picks, because the Steelers quarterbacks, they're throwing picks. They're taking chances. They're fumbling the ball. But you want to know what happens? The defense is there. Defense shows up. Crazy shit happens. And I think that's the same for the Steelers right now. They don't need Kenny Pickett to be a superstar. Kenny Pickett's not going to be a superstar. Right. He is not going to win an MVP, but can he be consistent and maybe get have a 3 touchdown game every few games or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying about the whole like not like the quarterback thing. Like the Steelers culturally are not like they don't typically lean on the franchise quarterback to sit there. They sit there and say save us.
And how often does that happen
Like
where it's save
they're not
me?
overly dependent upon the quarterback, and I get what you're saying. They play more of a balanced game than most teams
Patrick Mahomes is an
an elite
anomaly
quarterback.
where Patrick Mahomes is like elite dominant. Like he can have whoever's on his team and win a Super Bowl. He did that last year against a really good Eagles team who,
Probably the only time he's going to do it.
yeah, but like they were stacked before that. But I mean, you need a balanced team. The quarterback is the most important weapon. But
Yep.
like one thing I like Kenny Pickett doing right now, he just passed Ben Roethlisberger's record actually today for most passes without an interception. Granted, he's not taking as many chances, but hey, like if you're not turning the ball over, the Steelers have a winning record right now. And the way that they look today without Matt Canada and the play calling, obviously, I don't think that they're going to go anywhere this year, but it is a step in the right direction. And Kenny Pickett was letting the ball sling through the middle of the field today and throwing really nice and still didn't throw a pick. So I don't know if I would pick, going back to your original comment, I don't know if I would pick Kenny Pickett over Lamar. I'd be dumb to say that I would take Kenny Pickett over Lamar. But
yeah, I mean, you're talking about like that streak of, consecutive passes without an interception. I'd be interested to see the stats on that, on like those passes from Ben and those passes from Kenny, because I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts that Ben's like yards per attempt, yards per completion, everything is like considerably higher.
Ben's probably got triple the touchdowns and triple the yards.
Yeah, because like Kenny's probably got that record right now, but it's on like a technicality, like dude, 5 yard dump offs and stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, like,
but
I digress.
It is credit to him saying like
taking care of the football. He's not
taking care of the football
with it. Yeah.
And today, obviously, the last note of that game, thrown to the middle of the field, they finally did it, and Kenny didn't throw a pick. Things are looking up, and no, I would not take Kenny Pickett over Lamar if I had to right now. But that's also not a great question to ask.
I know. Moving on to the next game here, we got Rams at Cardinals. Rams were favored by 2.5, and oh boy, I should have taken that line. I thought the Rams were going to win, but I thought it'd be real tight because I thought Kyler was looking great and the Cardinals were looking scrappy. But no, you were the only one that took that line. And my oh my, did you cash in on that?
Yeah, I did. I actually, the funny thing is my argument for them beating up on the Cardinals was the fact that Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were going to eat them up. I think both those guys were decoys today because neither of them did a thing. But Matthew Stafford threw 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 touchdowns on only 229 yards. I mean, Kyron Williams, 16 carries, 143 yards. Let's go. Dude, you love to see him coming back healthy. They let him sit for long enough. They let him recover. I mean, I don't think that the Rams are going to do anything this year along with the Cardinals. But, man, dude, the Rams, like, they have a lineup, man. They have an offense. Now, are they too old? Do they spend too much where they're not going to be able to build on this team? Are they just going to kind of sit there with, like, kind of a nice offense? I don't know what's going to happen with this team.
Just to really quick give a shout out, we were talking about that dog, Kyron Williams. Let's give a shout out real quick to another dog that I forgot to shout out and I was extremely ecstatic about earlier today, and that's Jonathan Taylor. And is it Taylor time? That dude is back. He looks like vintage Jonathan Taylor, and everybody who had him in fantasy that had to hang on to him through all the PUP and the contract drama, it is paying off. But shout out to Jonathan Taylor. He was a dog today also with Kyron Williams.
Yeah, 15 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know how we missed that because me and you were texting about that for probably like 5 minutes.
2 Tubs Taylor, Johnny 2 Tubs.
Yeah, dude. And a couple of those runs that he had, that one that he had right when he got him to the end, like within the couple yard line.
Yeah.
And he just carried people with him.
Oh, dude, he just looked so good today, man. I mean, it was like vintage. And his second touchdown run, dude, was pretty nasty. I mean, he had to get in on second effort, and it was a spin move. And it was the awareness to use that spin move with the timing that he did. It was just like, wow, man, it's good to see prime Jonathan Taylor is still all there. But I digress. The Rams, man, Tyler Higbee and Matthew Stafford in the run game, just that's all it took. One tight end, one running back, one quarterback, and running the ball. Like, dude, they annihilated the Arizona Cardinals, and I did not expect it to be that kind of dominant showing from the Rams. It was pretty surprising, honestly. I kept checking the score, and the Rams just kept creeping up. You know, it was like 7-8 or 6-8 or something like that, and all of a sudden it was like 21-8. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. Well, Cardinals got some work to do.
Yeah.
And
If
that
you had,
score just kind of didn't move. And then it went up and up and up. And I'm like, oh, well, it's over for the Cardinals. That's for sure.
dude, if you had Kyron Williams in fantasy,
Yeah.
he had 143 rushing yards, no touchdowns, 61 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. That dude blew up.
Blew up. I mean, that's the definition of
insane.
going off right there.
Yeah. That's as if you're not Christian McCaffrey, like,
Yeah.
that's a standard day for McCaffrey, but you're blowing up if you're anybody else.
Yeah, pretty much. Like if you're not a top 3 running back, it's not expected of you, and that's pretty surprising. But
did you see the Chargers just now? Sorry, I keep obviously looking to the right, watching this game. The Chargers stuffing the Baltimore Ravens on 4th down.
oh no, I did not see that.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah,
Let's go Chargers.
I'm sure you are.
Next
Moving
game?
on to the next game here. Yeah, we got the Chiefs at the Raiders, and that was Kansas City -10. And both of us squawked at that line and did not take it. And we were both wrong.
Bad. Yeah,
I mean,
we both.
I can't believe
we think
this.
we both thought that the Chiefs were going to win, but not by that much. And
Yeah,
to be honest, for a little bit of that game, it didn't look like they would win by that much, because if you look at some of those highlight touchdowns for the Chargers, like they had some explosive plays.
you
like,
mean the Chiefs?
or the Raiders, I mean, explosive plays by the Raiders. That Josh Jacobs 63-yard touchdown run.
Jacoby Myers was looking fresh out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean, Devontae was getting used.
I think we both sneakily were probably more into the Bills-Eagles game, where we were kind of just looked, and all of a sudden the Chiefs were just kicking the crap out of the Raiders. It was kind of like we were talking earlier. It was like, oh, it was like 21-14, like, or something like that. And it was like, oh, it was a close game. So the Eagles game was obviously more infatuated.
Most definitely it was.
And next thing you know, it's the Chiefs are just kicking the crap out of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down for me. I mean, the game was close. Last thing I saw, it was 21-14. Max Crosby came up with a huge sack on Mahomes to get the Chiefs offense off the field off of a 3rd down there. Raiders are getting the ball back off a punt. Next thing I know, the Chiefs are up by 2 possessions. And I'm like, well, that's about all she wrote for the Raiders. They aren't really built to come back like that. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess good for Josh Jacobs. He was 20 for 110, but his long was that 63-yard touchdown run. So if you take that, I mean, you obviously can't take that out of the equation,
right?
But if you do, like, he didn't have that crazy good of a game. Also, free Davante Adams.
It's criminal. It's criminal what they're doing that to that man. I really hope he does get traded to the Jets in the offseason, like all the rumors are saying.
I got him in a dynasty league, dude. Like, I don't know what to do with him. Like, I obviously can't bench him. He's like a top pick. Like,
yeah.
But you want to know one thing I did? Was I drafted Mike Evans. And Mike Evans statistically is probably better than Davante Adams. So
he 100% is this season. And I mean,
maybe his career.
That's definitely quite possible.
Should we look up some stats here?
I think there's no need. Mike Evans is working on his 10th consecutive 1,000-yard season. I would handily say that Mike Evans has the bag in this one. If you wanted to argue a stretch of years, Devontae might have him, but I think overall Mike Evans probably got that.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
You do that.
Yeah, I'm actually curious.
While you're doing that, I'll give the people an update here on this Sunday night football game. After stopping the Ravens on 4th down, the Chargers now, well, in more specific, Keenan Allen appears to have just fumbled the ball, and the Ravens appeared to have recovered. That is currently under review. The score is still 7-3, so it's a tight game here with Baltimore and Los Angeles.
All right, so I got some stats here. Both receivers started in 2014, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Hey, pretty fair playing ground there.
Yeah, 144 games played for Davante Adams, 147 for Mike Evans. Mike Evans also had 147 different quarterbacks throwing the ball.
That's very true. That is very true. So couldn't have said that better myself.
Total receiving yards.
That was good.
Total receiving yards for Mike Evans. 11,205. Total receiving yards for Davante Adams, 10,378. So almost 1,000 more receiving yards for Mike Evans. Mike Evans has 88 touchdowns. Davante has 91, which makes sense because he had an elite quarterback throwing him the ball.
Yeah, and Davante is definitely more of the the goal line guy, red zone guy, a little more like he sniffs the goal line a lot better. He's getting, little like push passes and stuff like that. Mike Evans is certainly the more stretch the field type of receiver, bomb shot touchdowns type of guy.
So Mike Evans' longest play is 72 yards and Davante Adams is 66. And actually, if you look at their longs throughout the seasons, I mean, the discrepancy is not that much, but you got to credit. I mean, I think
having Aaron Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers,
yeah.
Needless to say, both receivers are probably right on par with each other. But if Mike Evans had an Aaron Rodgers, holy shit! What would Mike Evans been?
Just take out his what was it? His 2 years with Tom Brady. Just look at those 2 years, and then you look at you take out the 2 best years.
Those aren't even his greatest years. Well, who was his quarterback in 2018?
I think Jameis Winston.
That's the thing
is Jameis chucks it up, man. Jameis don't care.
Statistically, Davante Adams had
put up the 2 single best seasons Mike Evans has ever posted and compare those to the 2 single best seasons Davante Adams has ever posted.
Yeah, so
let's try that once.
Surprisingly enough, I don't know. The 2 best seasons Davante Adams ever had in 2021 with Aaron Rodgers, he had 1,553 yards and 11 touchdowns.
On how many receptions? It's got to be over 100.
123.
Ooh,
in 2022 with the Raiders, he had 100 receptions for 1,516 yards, only roughly 40 less yards on 23 less receptions, and he had 14 touchdowns versus 11 with Derek Carr. Wow, he had almost a better I would say his best season ever is with Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's arguable for sure.
That's insane. The best,
more efficient, season, more touchdowns.
Mike Evans' best season ever was 139, or actually 86 receptions only with 1,524 yards, roughly 20-something yards less than Davante Adams on, what is that, 50-something less receptions?
Yeah, a lot less.
Less touchdowns.
How many touchdowns did Mike Evans have in that year?
Only 8, not 11.
Yeah, not even double digits. Yeah. Does Mike Evans have any years of double-digit touchdowns?
He has a 14.
Wow. Any others?
But Davante has an 18. He has a 13 and a 14 and a 12 and a 12. But Davante has an 18. It's pretty comparable, man.
He's got 4 seasons of double-digit touchdown. Yeah, I mean, it's about spot on.
But regardless, Mike Evans has never had triple-digit receptions.
Never. He's never had 100-plus receptions?
Never.
And Davante's done that, 4 times, 5 times?
I mean, dude, he's only not done it 2 times.
Yeah, I'd say it's about a push, man. There's pros and cons to each. I'd say it's a push.
I think the push is having a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's it. The push is Davante was fed a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Well, that's the thing is you kind of prove the point that that's not the end all be all. That his two seasons with Tom Brady weren't even his best seasons.
It's just crazy that
what was his best? I know he had one really good season with Tom Brady. What was that for shits and giggles? Let me hear
what
that.
What years was Brady there?
I think Brady went there in 2020 and 2021, and then he played last year also. So I think 2020 was the year he won the Super Bowl, and that was probably the year Mike Evans and him went off.
So between 2020 and 2022, his best season was 77 receptions for 1,124 yards, 6 touchdowns. But if you're just talking touchdowns, his best season ever was 2021. He had 14 touchdowns. In 2020, he had 13 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I guess the most touchdowns is probably the most impact.
I think that's what having the elite quarterback does for you. I don't know if it's necessarily yardage, but I think it's like in those crunch moments of red zone targets, goal line targets, we need to take a shot. It's 3rd down, whatever it may be. When you need a play, you go to your guy. And that's what elite quarterbacks tend to do because they kind of have that power. If the OC is like, oh, but the wide receiver 3 was open, the elite quarterback has the power to look at the OC and say, I don't give a shit. You see that guy over there? The guy who's been doing it all year. I went to him, you know.
Why did Derek Carr get traded when Josh Jacobs had one of his best seasons ever, and he gave
Crazy.
Devontae Adams, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, one of his best seasons ever?
Yeah.
He had 1,500 plus yards, 100 receptions, and 14 touchdowns. And Josh Jacobs was also the best runner in the NFL last year, or pretty close to it.
Yeah.
And you traded your quarterback? The Raiders stink.
It's unfathomable. Right. But let's move on here to
the Raiders.
Let's move on from the Raiders here to the best game of the week, which was Bills at Eagles. And that was Philly -3 was the line. I did not take that. Mike did take that. And yet both of us were wrong. It was a dead push. But man, what an electric game to be dead wrong on.
Dude, that
Give
game
me your thoughts
awesome
on that, Mike.
I mean, I think I agree with what we were talking about earlier. The Bills should have won that game, but the defense fell apart in the second half of that game.
Totally.
But it's hard. It's hard. The Bills' defense is beat up. It's hard to keep up with Jalen Hurts and that elite offense that they have. They don't need to use A.J. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL. They have so many other options. They have Jalen Hurts' legs. They have Devontae Smith. They have Jalen Hurts' legs.
They have DeAndre Swift's legs.
Yes, Swift could have had a better game, but I mean,
Dallas Goedert's going to come back in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I don't even know what did Swift end up with. 14 carries, 80 yards, decent game.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the total rushing yardage as a team they put up. I mean, that's backbreaking. 80 yards for one dude.
Yeah,
like
true.
The way that team can run the ball.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that the Buffalo Bills are 6-6.
It really is. They are the inverted Steelers, man. They are like they are too good to have that record, and the Steelers are like a little too bad to have that record.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I don't know where they're at right now in the AFC race, but man, I want to see a team like the Texans. I want to see a team like the Bills making the playoffs this year, and we're going to be robbed if somehow, because the Bills, like we've talked about in the past podcast, the Bills have a tough schedule and they just lost one of these tough games. They have the Chiefs, they have the Cowboys. You think that they're going to run this out?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. So first off, I'm going to share my thoughts on this game, and that was this just further proved to me why Philadelphia is for sure a lock to go to the Super Bowl. It's not just which way they win, but how many different ways that they can win. And not only that, but they seem to have the switch that Mahomes, the Tyreek Mahomes Chiefs used to have. And that is like, they can be down 10 points. They could be down 20 points. It doesn't matter. They can just seem to flip the switch and go win the game. And like, dude, it's so rare. It's so rare to see that in a team. I feel like Buffalo is starting to have a switch like that because this offense is looking incredibly diverse compared to what it was. I honestly think that the run game is taken off. They're not.
They need to use it more.
They do, and they're not so dependent on Diggs, which is to their benefit. Like they're able to keep defenses guessing a little more, and kind of on their heels a bit more. And like you said about the schedule, yeah, I do think Buffalo has a tough schedule here. But Mike and I have made a bet, another dinner bet here, put it on the board type deal. That I say the Buffalo Bills are going to win out the rest of the season, and Mike says they do not. My other bold prediction is that by winning out the rest of the season, that will get Buffalo into the playoffs.
I think that naturally that they will. If they do that, they're going to make the playoffs.
Correct.
I mean, what will that put them? Like
that
11
will put
and
them
6?
at 11-6.
I mean, that should earn an AFC playoff spot.
Yeah, because I mean, the Dolphins are probably going to get in. The Bills are. I just don't see a path where the Bills don't get in, no matter what. But I do think they're going to win out because it's like Dolphins are going to get in, Bills probably get in, Chiefs get in. I think Ravens get in. I think Jags get in. I think Texans get in.
Dude, it's the problem is like
I'm interested to see if anybody else from the AFC North sneaks in there, like the Steelers, because now that you guys have a decent looking offense, it's going to be real interesting.
Well, right now I think it's the Colts, Browns, and Steelers.
Colts are frauds. I don't think Colts are really gonna. I mean, let me get the playoff standings in front of me here.
Yeah, it's Kansas City's in their division. Jacksonville is winning their division. Miami's winning their division. Baltimore's winning their division. Then the wild cards are the Steelers, Browns, and Colts.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like when I say I think Buffalo's going to make it and whatnot, I'm saying that like the teams that are out, the teams that are in, like I think the Browns are out. I think the Colts are out. I think Buffalo will be in there at the end of the year. And honestly, I think it's going to be the Texans in there at the end of the year also.
I think it's going to be Buffalo, Texans, and Steelers.
Yeah, 5, 6, sevens will 5, 6 seeds, 5, 6, and 7 will be Steelers, Buffalo, and Texans.
I agree with that.
That's my
Yeah.
prediction.
I don't think that um the Bills have to win out to do that. I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna win out to do that. I think they're gonna win next week against the Chiefs, but I think that they're gonna have a tough time against the Cowboys at Dallas.
Oh, it's I thought that was in Buffalo.
No, it's oh wait.
That's in Buffalo,
Oh,
buddy.
it
I think
isn't.
they're going to
Oh yeah.
expose Dallas and Buffalo, me personally.
I don't like that. Yeah, I take everything back that I said. I don't know.
Well,
That
you can't
hurts.
back out of the bet now,
I'm
boy.
not backing out of the bet. I don't think they're not winning out, but I think that they do make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But man, that game was
Well, I can tell you that one team I don't think is going to make the playoffs, and that's the Chargers, who are currently down now 10-3 to the Ravens.
yeah.
Second quarter, by the way.
Actually, crazy stat here that I'm looking at this game. Do you know who the leading rusher of that game was?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say it was Ty Johnson.
Josh Allen, 9 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Ty Johnson was getting involved. James Cook was getting involved. They had a bunch of people that had like a good handful of yards. I couldn't really quite pinpoint who had the most. I suppose Josh Allen had that nice touchdown run. He had a bunch of scrambles. That would make sense.
That is just a hilarious stat line for a quarterback. And on top of that, he threw for 339 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like
he's so good, man. He's so good.
Let him do that, man. You gotta milk everything out of this dude until you can't milk it anymore, because if you don't let him be who he needs to be, he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. Yep. So just milk everything out of him.
Right there. You're never going to reach. He's never going to reach his full potential, and the Buffalo Bills will never reach their full potential
if you inhibit
him play like that. Yes, he needs to be running around at least a bit.
Yeah, maybe not
totally agree.
80-something yards and 2 touchdowns, but I mean, that dude's got to be getting 50 yards, 40, 50 yards on the ground. If you're a third and short, let him roll out, let him get those few yards. And they were doing that, and they've been doing that since the new OC's been in place. I mean, it's just like the Steelers and the Bills, like both of them getting rid of OCs in the past couple of weeks. You can't change the playbook, but you can change the play calls. And they're making new play calls that get Josh Allen's legs moving. Same with the Steelers. They're making new play calls that throw to the middle of the field. And look at the world of difference that makes. Even though the Bills lost, they look way better than what they've been doing, especially letting Josh Allen play the way he needs to play.
I completely agree, and I'm going to have to bring you a live update here. The Chargers had the ball and have now fumbled again. That is Austin Eckler fumbling the ball. The Ravens recovering with 26 seconds to go in the second quarter. It is now 1st and 10 for the Baltimore Ravens on the LA Chargers 47-yard line.
Why does Eckler suck?
He's kind of looking washed, man. He's just looking like Father Time is catching up to him. He doesn't look completely off the cliff, but he looks like he's falling.
He's dropping balls. He's fumbling.
That's
man.
the signs of it,
doing,
man. Is what I'm saying.
It's put him in a home.
Not as sharp.
Shoot. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We got Monday Night Football to talk about.
No, we got to talk about this Ravens Chargers here. We both have the line on this, and that is Baltimore -3.5. And I mean, so far that's proving to be accurate. So I think this game will continue to play out as the Ravens dominate them. Mike, what's your thought on this?
I think that the Chargers pop off and just no. I mean the Chargers defense seems to be a good job of be doing a good job of holding down Baltimore's offense and holding them to 10 here. Obviously that makes it a lot easier to do when Mark Andrews isn't playing football.
That's a big reason why
I think the Chargers are going to do what they've been doing. They keep games kind of close, but the Ravens are more talented and they got more grit, and the Chargers are going to screw themselves. And Baltimore may only win by 3, I think
the Chargers are too mistake prone to let Baltimore win by only 3.
Yeah. I mean, Baltimore's going to win this game. They're probably going to kick a field goal here, probably give Tucker like a 70-yard field goal and he'll just nail it or something like that. But
he's just the GOAT.
He's a GOAT, man.
Well, speaking of that, speaking of that game, Lamar has now just had the ball stripped out of his hands. But
you are ahead of
looks like the Ravens have recovered that also, and I think the Ravens are just going to take this to half.
Oh, they're not going to kick a field goal?
I
Is
think
it
it's
too
going to
far
be.
back?
I think they're saying it'd be a 69-yard attempt.
Oh, that's what I say, 70-yard field
You
goal.
said 70. I mean, do we let Justin Tucker try this? We have our live reactions here on the podcast.
You're ahead of me, but let me know if he's trying it.
I'm currently watching a replay of Lamar being strip sacked, so I will let you know what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I'm watching it live now with the strip sack.
I'm interested to see if Harbaugh is going to try this. There's 8 seconds to go until halftime. It's fourth
Also,
down. No, the offense is on the field. Looks like they're going to go for a Hail Mary. No 69-yard field goal attempt for Justin Tucker. Darn.
damn.
That man, that we're getting robbed right now as football fans. That would be epic. Oh, well, Chargers just took their final timeout. Let's see if Harbaugh changes his mind.
Shout out to the Chargers wearing the old school jerseys. I love those, by the way.
They look good.
Yeah, the dark blue.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Reminds me of LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yes, and Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates.
And the days
and
when
Phillip
they were actually
Rivers.
in San Diego.
They were really good, but never could win it.
Yeah. Never forget, man, the team that they had. First overall offense, first overall defense, but last overall special teams, man. They missed the playoffs because of that.
Crazy. All right. Next game we have, let's talk Monday Night Football.
Monday night.
And two teams that aren't going to win the division. Does this game even matter?
I think it matters strictly for fantasy football purposes in the minds of America. I mean, probably a lot of people out there depending on Justin Fields.
And
a lot of people out there depending on Josh Dobbs. Exactly. I mean, DJ Moore.
I am dependent. Hawkinson's probably a number one tight end here. I have Fields also in fantasy. So
yeah, I do think Justin Fields has himself a Superman type of game here. He whips out the cape and has like a 35+ point game just simply with his legs and whatnot. But in terms of for fantasy football, I think he has a baller game, but I don't know, man. I've been trying to make heads or tails of this game all week. I could honestly see it going either way. Chicago and Minnesota play each other tight. They almost always have, at least in like the last 3 years. So I think I'm not going to take this line. I do think Minnesota is going to win, but I like Chicago to keep it sticky close, 3 or less. I'm betting on it's a push or less.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just watching that last play.
Yeah. Right.
I am going to be with you. I was hoping that you were going to take that line because I think that the Bears are going to win this game. I think Fields and Moore are going to ball out. And like I said, I'm with you. I think Fields is going to use his legs and have a hell of a game in fantasy. And I mean, anytime that Fields is playing, Moore's great. And I don't the Bears or the Vikings defense stinks. I mean, they've been better, I guess, in the past second half of this season here, or not total second half, but second half of this season. And
right.
But yeah, I think that the Bears can win this game, man. I don't even even ESPN is predicting 62% of people are predicting that the Vikings are going to win this game. I think it's going to be way closer. It's a -3 line. How do you have 62% of people predicting that they're going to win?
Yeah,
with a -3 line, but
I agree. That's why I'm not taking the line.
Yeah, it's going to be a running back by committee probably here for the Bears per usual.
Deonta Foreman is doubtful, so
okay. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time with this game, I could easily see Dobbs doing Dobbs shit and balling out. Is Jefferson still questionable, right? Yeah.
I don't think he's going to play.
Okay. Have they pulled him from IR?
I don't believe so. I think they don't have to do that technically. I don't think they have to open his window to practice, his 21-day window to practice until next week.
I thought they opened that window already, but he hasn't been lifted off IR.
I could be mistaken, but
yeah, he's probably not going to play. Hey?
Yeah, that's kind of the general consensus that I've been seeing. He wants to wait until he's 100%. So I would venture to say next week he comes back.
Do they have a bye?
Not sure. I think they do actually.
I think that was the big thing about the Vikings and him not coming back was the fact that they have a bye. Yeah, they do. Or no. Tomorrow's the 27th. They play again the 10th. Yeah, they do have a bye next week. So yeah, he's not playing. I wouldn't. Yeah. Why play him? You know, exactly. The Bears have a crappy record.
It's your franchise player there.
Yeah. All right, man. Any other Any other notes or things that you found intriguing today? Anything that got you in your feels? We got what,
Anything
seven
that
minutes
got
here?
me in my football feels. Well, let's see. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm jumping on the bandwagon, but I kind of had the thought. It's strange how the timing works. Like a couple days before Tom Brady dropped his video talking about how mediocre the NFL is with Stephen A. Smith, I kind of had the same thoughts. I was watching an edit of some of the old, the old entourage of quarterbacks like Big Ben, Philip
Like we
Rivers,
were talking
Drew
earlier.
Brees. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, man. It just got me thinking that the game's just like the entertainment itself, the quality of the game, it really isn't the same. Brady said it's mediocre. I don't know if I'd say it's mediocre, but it just doesn't seem to be quite as potent as it used to be. Like the drama used to be so thick, it felt like you could cut the tension in the room. You know what I mean? With
Yeah.
certain games, like you fired up Baltimore v Pittsburgh, man. It doesn't feel the same anymore. You know what I mean? Like
Eh,
it's still like, oh, it's a
feels the
good
same for me.
rivalry. Yeah,
AFC
maybe.
North, AFC North has maintained that though. They've maintained that tension. Like,
I guess, but I just look at like overall play in general is like it's sloppier. It's way more backyard football. It's not like in like just football as a whole. You know what I mean?
I think
Like I'm
that's a
using one of
test.
the I'm using one of the great rivalries to show that like even that has declined a little bit, at least in my
I
opinion.
I think that's a testament to what was it, like 50 something different starting quarterbacks this year. And last year was like 53. Like we're almost approaching the same amount. There's so many different starting quarterbacks, and quarterbacks are the number one position. They're the face of the team. And you have that many people flipping the script and people like, how
And
do
that
you
are
have,
being rushed in there. That's like pretty much the whole point Tom Brady's making is like
like, what else can you do?
the development is not there for these guys. You know what I mean?
But what else do you do?
That's the thing
Like,
is I just think we need to see a shift. I think we need to go back to a little bit of an old school mantra of coaching, a little more of a old school hardcore, a little more, I don't even know what to say. I guess like today's coaching is a bit more progressive. We need to get a little regressive. And I'm
so
not saying like go back to defensive minded head coaches,
you
but
talking
I'm
Steelers football, brother?
no, but I'm
Are you,
saying we
yes,
need to have
yes, you are.
we
You're
need to
talking
have
Steelers football.
no, we
You're
need to
talking a
have
quarterback
tougher football in general. I'm
tough.
not
That's what they do.
offensive minded head coaches that are tougher, similar to a Kyle Shanahan. Like, dude, his teams are physical. You know what I mean? You look at the Colts.
Don't kill my vibe.
His
No,
team is physical. Shane Steichen over there, man, like they are. That's an offensive mind, and they are physical. Like the Colts beat you up. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's the kind of NFL
and
we
you
need to
can't.
get to.
The Colts. I the the 49ers are a good example, but the 49ers also have such elite talent they can do whatever the fuck they want. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor, yeah, he's tough. That's I mean, it'll be interesting to see with Anthony Richardson coming back to see what kind of team they're going to be. But I mean, I think what you're talking about, which I was boasting the Steelers, like they, what we need to see teams with like not having to rely on this elite quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes is going to change the entire fortune of the team. Like we need a better, well-rounded teams that make games competitive throughout the entire game. It's like it seems just like so lopsided. I don't know. It's
I just
really
think
weird.
football as a whole is sloppy now. Like it's so much more backyard football than it is within structure and scheme.
Yeah.
And that's like, how do I say this? It's kind of like that's why like in a similar sense, like this is a correlation, I suppose. Like it's related. This is why the Chiefs look off. Mahomes has nobody that he can play that backyard
Backyard
style of
football.
football with
Yeah.
other than Travis Kelsey, and they look broken. They're like
Travis Kelsey's
being,
old.
yeah, and like he's easily covered. Like he can cover one dude, and it's like the Chiefs, like they're being forced to play like old school, like real football, and they look like they don't know what to do. And that's what I'm saying is I think the league as a whole, we need to get back into that more play within the structure and scheme. Like the scheme is everything. Be a little more about the development, be more about the coaching and the fundamentals. It's kind of like Mike Tomlin told George Pickens heading into the season. You want to be like this elite receiver or whatnot, do the routine things routinely.
Yeah.
That's like, dude,
No,
how
I
many
mean,
guys you see nowadays? They're dropping 5 yard outs. How many receivers? You know what I mean? Guys that are have
yeah.
been in the league for years or like at least a year or two, or it's like, dude, you've made it to the NFL. What are you doing dropping passes?
I mean, They try to be superstars. Individuals try to be way more individuals than they are team players.
Exactly. That's 100% it. And back in the day,
Yeah.
well, like one of the biggest thing about the old school mantra is like, there's no I in team. You know,
Yeah.
it's we before me. You know,
Well,
it's all
did you see
everything
that?
for the team, and that's why Philly's gonna go win more and go be successful.
Did you see that Deontay
Oh,
Johnson
they play.
highlight of him not blocking after that fumble?
Yeah, I did.
Ooh, granted, Deontay came back and had a really nice game after that and some nice catches. Maybe he was disconnected and didn't know that, like, he thought he was down. But regardless, everybody on that Steelers team was running except for him. Man, you can't be like that, dude.
He's
Like,
not even good
that's
enough to be like that.
not even
At
close.
least George Pickens is talented enough and has like the potential to where like people will put up with that kind of an attitude. Deontay Johnson is nowhere near that
He is
level of
literally the
caliber.
example of what we were just talking about of you
Yeah.
got to be a team player. I mean, if the ball is moving and other people are running, you don't if you're running, don't if everybody else is running, just run. Even if you don't know why you're running, just go.
Yeah.
Like,
You think anybody from the 49ers is playing like that? I don't fucking think
no,
so.
they're just like ball, run. Okay, nobody
Yes.
blew a whistle.
That's a
Go, go,
team
go.
right there, man. I can even say that the Packers look like a unified team, man, the last couple weeks. Like we look
Yeah,
like
they
we're playing
have.
hard for each other and it's
Yeah.
great. But
Why don't you close us out, bro?
yeah, I would say that's about the only thing that's got me in my football feels, other than Josh Allen still can't win in overtime. But our next show should be coming out on Wednesday, November 29th.
Yeah.
And yeah, it should be a good show. We're going to break down the Monday Night Football action. We're going to preview the Thursday Night Football action of Week 13 and the Sunday action a little bit. We got some big matchups there.
Yes,
Other than
sir.
that, if you've been watching the podcast, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it. If you're new to the podcast, please give us a like, smash that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best here to be on time here Wednesday. Hunting season's over.
Turkey
We're gonna
Day
be
is
in a
over.
routine. I graduate here in a couple weeks, so dialing in. We're gonna be on time now. Let's do it. Peace.
That is the goal. All right, everybody. Have a great week out there. We will see you all Wednesday.